Hi there. Thanks so much for tuning into the trade setup. I'm a minute late. Excuse me for that, but thanks so much for tuning in. And I hope all of us stay safe and in these trying times. It's trying times for the markets as well. It's just prophetic. I mean, I didn't think of it that way, that that's what happened, but we did hit that wall of worry and then have consistent been coming off. And if you look at the world markets overnight, there is uh, well, some bit of red that you would probably expect. Though the Nasdaq really recovered all of the losses, and the futures are trading flat. So you know what I mean. While we may want to believe that this is all red and gloom and doom on the screen, maybe just maybe some bit of corrective move in the very short term. These days we actually talk very short term. Really, might have been done, and that might hold us in good stead. Let's wait and watch. So, point being, if you look at the Asian screen as well, it's not quite neither in the S&P. You know, when you saw the US markets, you saw just a very small correction. That's because Nasdaq recovered some of the losses, but the S&P 500 and the Dow did have a very large fall. The selling spread across from tech to some of the other spaces, and today Asia is showing that not all the indices are trading in an ominous fashion, and that's probably a good sign. Now, the SGX Nifty will next come up on your screen, and it is showing a flattish move. So much unlike what people would have thought late last night at about 11, 12, if you were awake and looking at the US markets and thinking, oh my God, tomorrow's going to be a bad day. It's not as bad as yet. Keep in mind, like I said repeatedly, that the US futures are trading flat. So those cues for us later on in the day are not all that bad, and that's probably a slightly good sign. Now, what's what's before we get to the trade setup of the day, it's important to figure out what happened in the markets yesterday. And this MOE function in the Bloomberg terminal, all of you now know it because I've said it so repeatedly that what is this function? It's there on the Bloomberg terminal, and then my producer is kind enough to pull it out. It shows that the market bet was still positive even on a day like yesterday. So 289 advances, as you can see, to 210 declines on the NSE 500, which is great. And if you look at the set of stocks, some PSUs, some specialty chemicals, all of them had a fairly decent outing. There was no pattern in trade yesterday, you would have to admit, but for the fact that PSU stocks are doing well. So that's the key point. I mean, look at this list, right? You'll see MMTC, you'll see BHEL, down under you'll see Palmer and some of the others. So the PSU names are not doing all that bad. But IT is being taken to the cleaners. Yesterday, to India Mart Intermesh was down about 5%. Intellect Design was down about 7%. There's some bit of a pullback in the metal names, and we had warned about this yesterday because of the China moves that it would happen, and that is what it played out as well. Let's wait and watch what happens in the day today. Lots of stocks to talk about, by the way, but just very quickly, the trade setup. It's very difficult. So, I mean, I do believe that the global market pressure will impact the Indian indices again today, but the impact may be limited, as I just said. I think banking is the key spot in the session. 32,000 is a key level to watch if banking corrects, but if it holds 32,000, then that's a positive. Really, almost all good technical experts that I speak to speak about levels between 32,300 to 32,000 as the key levels to watch out for based on their individual technical parameters. So, therefore, banking 32,000 is the key level to watch. Keep an eye out on autos as the sector short, some fairly significant short build-up in trade yesterday, and that is something that all of us have to be prepared for in the session. Now, numbers in terms of companies that come out with numbers today, there is UPL and Asian Paints. The expectation is that UPL will do well. Asian Paints likely will come out maybe post-market hours, so you have to bear in mind, and tomorrow's a holiday. So when you take your position in Asian Paints, keep in mind that what the global markets do will also have a bearing on what our markets do on Friday, and therefore what Asian Paints does on Friday. So you have to keep that in mind. Non-Nifty, a bunch of very important stocks. Pidilite, Apollo Tires, Lupin, very interesting. Happiest Minds has had such a fabulous run-up that the numbers better do justice to the kind of stock moves that we've seen in Happiest Minds. So that's the other important one. Saregama India would be important as well because it's a stock that's had a tremendous run-up. So all of these names should be kept in mind. What about stocks that you should watch out for in the session today? Well, I'll start off with the non-earnings newsmaker, and that's Mahindra and Mahindra. They've given should we do Mahindra and Mahindra first? Yeah, let's do Mahindra and Mahindra first. They've given a business update, and the business update suggests that the Q1 volumes will fall by about 15 to 20% over Q4 as second COVID wave impacts the business. They're saying that revenue and profitability will be impacted in line with the fall in volumes. So 15 to 20% fall in volumes, and therefore 15 to 20% fall in revenues and profitability quarter on quarter. YOY, all numbers will look good, right? Because last year, this quarter was a lockdown. So keep that in mind. Temporary impact on demand of vehicles and tractors from the second wave. Therefore, you don't know whether this will percolate into quarter two. And global shortage of chips used in vehicles has also hurt production. Not that I think it will matter too much, because if the demand is low, then low production might be okay. But if they've cited that as a reason, which means that that is also a bit of an issue. Now, you could argue that some of this is in the price. I still think that the short build-up in trade yesterday, the consistent production shutdowns by some of the auto names, all leave a bit to be desired. I don't think the sector is out of the woods. Maybe the globally supplying vehicles might be okay. So the Motherson Sumis, Tata Motors might be okay. But the local, domestic focused companies might have an issue at hand. So be very careful when you're choosing the auto names. Now, some of the others, the result-based names. Sorry, I've confused my producers completely today. But the results-based names, and Godrej Consumer comes right on top. Now, the big announcement for Godrej Consumer is that they have a new MD CEO. Sudhir Sitapati is appointed as MD and CEO for 5 years. Now, the key is Sudhir Sitapati worked in HUL for about 22 years. And if you look at the soaps division, right, Godrej Consumer is arguably the biggest competition to HUL in soaps division. And an HUL veteran has joined GCPL. Now, that I think could be viewed positively for Godrej Consumer. The numbers, I'm taken quarter on quarter because YOY was pointless. Really, revenues were down 11%, net profit was down 27%, EBITDA down 21%, margins at 20%. So quarter on quarter, the numbers didn't look good, just about bearable. But it'd be very interesting to see how the market views this announcement of the new MD and CEO. So therefore, that is something that all of us need to keep in mind. So I'll watch out for GCPL in the session for that reason, not for the reason of the results. Some of the other numbers, well, BASF India, quarter four numbers were okay, considering what some of the other specialty chemical companies have done. I thought BASF could have done slightly better, but a mediocre performance, if you will, on a quarter-on-quarter basis, and that might not sit well. It's not very heavily traded counter, so keep in mind, but not the best of numbers. On the other hand, Linde India, excellent set of numbers. Revenues of 17%, EBITDA 52%, margins 29.9% versus 23. They are in the, how do I say, they're in the important services business, and which is why businesses like Linde India or GMM Pfaudler or some of the others which were fully operational even last year during lockdown could be compared YOY. You would wonder, why is it that Neeraj is choosing some companies YOY, some companies QOQ? Because these companies are fully operational. I'm choosing to take the YOY performance of these. Now, just that fact that the merger that was done with Praxair and Linde India, the synergies seem to be showing out here. So do watch out for this one. It's not a very liquid stock again, so please be careful if you want to buy. Again, it's not a cheap stock. But I do remember about a month ago, Antique Stock Broking came out with a report saying that you have, if you buy Linde India, you have a business that will give you earnings for perpetuity. Something like that, not exactly, but something like that. They're very bullish on the business. They initiated at about 1720, 1730 with stiff targets. The stock is still about 1815, 1830 or thereabouts. So don't be too perturbed with believing that maybe the stock has run up. It's not quite done that much. And one broker which tracks it closely is very bullish on this, so keep this in mind. Another good set of numbers was Siemens. I haven't given the graphics, but Siemens, the numbers look very good, and therefore if the stock reacts positively, you know why it is doing so. So these are a few names that you have to keep in mind. In addition to these, viewers, this morning, MSCI release came about for the global standard indices changes. There are a lot of names, and therefore I don't know which all the ones can be, how do I say it, traded. Some of these, of course, the information was, or belief was known beforehand, because brokerages know, right, that what's going to happen or what is likely going to happen, and therefore they give out the probable releases and otherwise. So in the large cap indices, the Adani Group stocks make it to the indices, so keep them in mind. And by virtue of this, I think the Edelweiss alternate research team has put out the note which says that Adani Total Gas might see flows of $318 million, Enterprises 310, and Transmission $285 million. So those are the 2-3 names that they believe will see some significant inflows. This is as of May 27, by the way, but it's just that some bit of pre-buying could happen, but the actual buying will happen on May 27 as well. Z Entertainment could see outflows of about $140 odd million as a result of this, plus the fact that Z gets shifted to the small cap index. Speaking of the small cap index, a bunch of names that get added and some get subtracted. So these are the names which get added to the small cap index in the rejig. Balaji Mines interesting, CAMS very interesting, Happiest Minds very interesting, IRCTC, a lot of platform businesses as you can see, right? IRCTC, CAMS, etc. And OFSS, Root Mobile, again a platform business. UTI AMC, you could call AMC is now in that bracket too. KPIT Technologies had a big sharp up move yesterday as well. So keep these in mind. The deletions were the Adani Group stocks, which are shifted to the MSCI India Index, large cap index, KRBL, Mishra Dhatu Nigam, Hemisphere Properties, not that traded really. So a few of these names could react as well. So keep them at the back of your mind. All in all, a bunch of stocks that will react today. So you have to bear all of those in mind. The MSCI additions plus the results, because a bunch of them are expected today, and tomorrow is a holiday. So it will be interesting to see how these react. Godrej Consumer for the rejig in the management, Siemens for the fairly strong quarter that's come out with, and Linde India again, illiquid but very strong quarter and could be interesting to monitor. Keep in mind the Bank Nifty 32,000 levels. Keep in mind autos, maybe some weakness there. That's it from the trade setup today. Please stay safe and please mask up if you're stepping out of your houses. Thanks so much for tuning in today.